Welcome everyone to another Monday Win by Noon webinar. I am your host, the founder of Win by Noon, Todd Bookspan, and I am excited as always to see you all here. And I'm also very excited to see my co-host is with the most is here, none other than Plug and Play SM's Deborah Bird. What's up, Deborah?
Happy Monday. I just love starting the week off like this with a bunch of winners who have probably already won by noon so far. If you're in Central or I guess all time zones, it's already noon, right?
Everyone, yes, unless you're in Hawaii, maybe it's just noon there, but yeah, you should be good. That's good. I like that. Look at you. Look at you. I was just on the phone with a real estate agent. She's like, you just sound too chipper for a Monday. And I'm like, well, as I get to get on my webinar, which, is always a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
All right. So,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to interrupt you because look what I found. I'm cleaning out my office. So I'm actually in my real office. This is more like normally a fake background, but this is actually this is the real deal. But I was cleaning out this top drawer. I got these 6 drawers here, which I guess I could show you. I really know I probably should. But I got these 6 file drawers and they're all filled to the brim with crap. It's all like, it's just old stuff. Like, I just pulled out this stuff and this is like a notebook of ideas that I have from years ago. It's like business plans. I got a friend's business plan here, which I won't show you. Just all sorts of stuff, a post-closing plan, just all sorts of stuff. But look what I found. Look what I found. I knew I had this book.
Oh, you found it.
And then I realized I actually read it. Like I actually highlighted stuff in the book. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I only got halfway through. But no, I actually read the whole stinking book. And that just tells you like, that's just so bad that I totally forgot it. But I have a couple pages that I dog-eared down and like double starred. Like never forget this very moment we can change our lives. There was never a moment and never will be when we are without the power to alter our destiny. This second, we can turn the tables on resistance.
Wow.
Like that was
how long ago was that?
I need to start dating when I read things, but I don't know. It's got a little thing
great idea.
from, oh, you know what? Well, I don't know, but it's got this would be really crazy if it's true, but I just found a piece of paper stuck in here, which must have been my bookmark. And it's from the JW Marriott in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. And I have to say that my kids were about yay tall when I was there. So this was a long time ago. I'm just embarrassed to say that. So, I don't know, but that, those of you who missed it last week, I would encourage you to go to the YouTube channel and watch what we talked about. Are you a pro or an amateur or a pro, which was really inspired by an interview I saw of Stephen Pressfield, who wrote this book. I shouldn't say saw it, I listened to it on a podcast where he said amateurs have amateur habits and professionals have professional habits. So that's my thought of the day. And again, full transparency, Todd, this is just what was sitting in the drawer.
Well, there's nothing better than going through some of your old stuff and just cleaning out the clutter. For me personally, when I have a bunch of clutter, it's noise in my head and I don't feel like I can be as clear and focused because I'm always thinking of all the things I need to go through. So currently we've kind of gone through the same thing just with my house where we've taken like every room and we're pulling things out and we're repainting walls and probably going to update the flooring. And once you see it all of just stuff that you accumulate over time and it just keeps piling up, I'm like, oh, this is bad, but it feels good to purge a little bit.
It's we're moving, and so we had this box that my wife's like, "Ooh, I didn't mean to bring this box out of storage," and I'm like, she's gonna put it in our storage shed at the house. I'm like, nope, I'm bringing it in, and I'm either gonna donate it, use it, or sell it, right? And so then you have to have that thing of, all right, if it's, like well, let me ask you that. So if you had something that you could turn around and sell on like eBay or OfferUp, and it was going to take you a couple of pictures to do it, and then might have to mail it, what's the least amount of money it would have to be worth for you to be willing to sell it versus just give it away to somebody?
That's so I usually always just go to Facebook Marketplace, which I even thought about, do I even mess with that? Because I'd rather just hire someone to come in and just haul it off and not deal with all the back and forth with the messaging on Facebook. But then, sometimes I wonder, where do those guys even take this stuff to? And I know there's people in need of it. And some of it's nice, like great desks and bookshelves and, that we could sell just for real cheap. And I'm sure we could say, come by, pick it up, Venmo to this handle, and it would be gone. It's just being that lazy and not doing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. Well, I think everyone has to kind of know their hourly rate, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. in my world is like, what is it really worth, for my time, and what else could I be doing with the time? And sometimes that's not necessarily profitable activity. Sometimes it's just activity for you personally, right? Me time with the family, and that kind of thing. So yes, I'm definitely, what I realize is I've always said I've got millions of dollars of ideas in here. And, after being in masterminds for, more than a decade with top loan officers, that's why I laugh. I mean, literally when I see these business plans that people sent to me, and this looks like my wife's notes. So somehow I inherited hers, but it's, I don't even know what year this is, but it's a really long time ago business plan. But it's great to see, to look at. And so my goal is going to be to scan and clean up. And so I just think Deborah and I are decluttering. So we invite all of you to declutter along with us.
Well, how cool would it be if you took one of those business plans that someone wrote like 5 years ago, and you either took a picture or you sent it to them to see, A, did they accomplish everything on that business plan by now? And if not, why not? That would be kind of cool.
Well, you know what? I know this person has, but that
Oh,
just tells me I have to send her a picture of it and at least give her a hard time and thank her for that. So,
yeah.
somebody who still is near and dear to my heart, and, at a time when we were clueless and lost, said, "Oh, come on, you can do it," and flew out and visited her and her team and spent the day with them and learned what to do. And I think anytime that you can get around people who think big and are willing to pour into you is always a great opportunity. It's kind of what I love about our community. All right, so let's sort of talk about creating client engagement. And I kind of brought this up because it's something that I had done a webinar on at the beginning of the year, and I still feel like a lot of you are stuck. I don't know if it's all of you out there, right? And maybe it's not you, but maybe it's someone that you do business with, right? So maybe you're a realtor and it's your loan officer who's stuck. Maybe you're a loan officer, it's your realtor who is stuck. But I think there's lots of things that people can do to, create engagement. I talked to a builder, and this will be my last story, and then we'll start talking about it. I talked to a builder earlier today, and he's like, "Well, yeah, we had no sales last week and 6 cancellations." And these are people who are canceling and have a lot of equity in their home. They're canceling, they're giving up their earnest money. And probably because either their situation's changed income wise, or their, interest rate went up and they weren't expecting that. They don't qualify. I don't know all the details on it. But he just said he feels very cynical right now. And I'm like, all right, you just need someone to give you a big bear hug and, tell you it's going to be okay. Or like, what are you going to do to actually go out there and change the perspective of, the folks that are all getting stressed out around it. So I guess I would say this: I think the number one opportunity to create client engagement is just what I said. I think it's to figure out who in your world that's either a partner that you work with or someone that this isn't even client wise, that needs a little pep talk to get in front of their clients. What do you think? Is that an okay idea?
No, I think that's great. In fact, it reminds me of the class I taught last week, and I was actually very surprised. This one happened to be in Dallas. And so it was a room full of real estate agents, and I asked them, of the people in the audience, who has listings right now and why are those people moving? And I'm curious, where are they going? And I asked that because I heard another business coach who coaches real estate agents say you need to get really good at knowing who's moving to your state or out of your state and why. And most of the people who were listing were moving out of Texas. And I thought, I'm so surprised because I thought it was the other way around. I thought we had a lot of people moving to Texas. Just, some of our employment laws and taxes obviously is a great, state in my opinion. But I was actually incorrect. My assumptions that I had made maybe were based off things from, a couple of years ago, maybe with COVID. And I thought, why are they then moving out of the state? And a lot of what we came to discover just in this small group was it was more of the, I don't want to say super seniors, but people who now had become empty nesters. And most of them were wanting to move closer to kids where there could be potential grandkids, because it sounded as if the last child had moved out and their current children were either getting married or engaged. And so they thought, that's where kids could be growing their family, or it was too hot, Texas. And so I was really surprised by that. And I thought, how well do you know, even if you don't have listings right now, do you network with other agents or maybe people in your office that those who are getting listings or maybe even buyers, what's the real motivation? And then Todd, just so you know, I then pulled up the Win by Noon post that was made on June 24th, and it says you had a graph with all the different life events that aren't interest rate specific of how people, typically, I don't know if you remember this one, says,
I
how
do
are
remember that one. I
you?
worked on it so
Yeah.
hard. I mean, plug and play SM did.
So, it then had my wheels going of the people who need pep talks right now. Maybe this graphic right here would be a great one to maybe lead with of what is not going to be related to interest rate, but focused on different life events and within their database of how we could help create a marketing plan or a strategy or a huddle meeting around, because these are people who could be buying or selling in the future.
Love it. All right. So you gave me a great idea, right? So again, we're trying to create client engagement. So you said someone asked the question, where are those people moving? And so now the question is for all of you, it doesn't matter what seat you sit in, real estate or loan officer, how many people did you help during COVID who moved to your city or state that you helped with a transaction, because they could work remote, because they wanted to make a change of pace? Those are the people you should be calling this week. Call those folks, create client engagement by asking them, how are you doing? Because it's funny, it reminds me of a story. I was talking to a team member of mine last week. Client moved from California to Arizona, one of the northern parts, and it's where it's like 120 degrees on a regular basis. And they had lived apparently in the mountains, I guess, somewhere in California. And lo and behold, it's too hot for them. And so now they're going to move either back to the mountains in a different part of California, or they're going to move to Oregon in the mountains. And what a great opportunity to check in with their clients, because remember the whole adage that if you don't follow up them, they won't follow up with you. And in this case, the client loved the loan officer on my team and called them. However, is your client going to remember to call you? So just be proactive, give them a call, ask them how they're doing, because I think you're right. I mean, I always read that Texas was one of the top spots people were moving to. And then you hear everyone's leaving California, but the last piece that I saw on CNBC of the top 10 places people are going to and the top 10 places people are leaving, LA was in the top 10 of leaving, but San Diego was in the top 10 of where people were moving to. And I'm like, all right, well, they don't seem that much different to me. The traffic stinks in both. They're both overpriced. Got more beach in LA, not as much beach in San Diego, but I did think that was kind of interesting. So that's an add-on. That was great. See, that's bonus content we're giving people.
That's why they show up to these. They get the Deb and Todd special, right?
Exactly. Random thoughts from Todd and Deb for 30 minutes. What can you want? What more could anyone want outside of that? It's, just what my belief is. And so, all the more reason we're so grateful that you're all here watching with us live and/or those of you who are watching virtually in the old YouTube. All right. So that's kind of idea numbers 1.5 and 2, or whatever you'd want to call that. What do you want to go next idea, or you want me to go next idea?
Yeah, so the second one that I was thinking of, and really it was because of the Altos research webinar that I attended last week, where right now, typically year over year, August is the heaviest month with price reductions. So this is a great opportunity where the real estate agent and loan officer team, so if your real estate agent partner with your go-to lender or vice versa, where you could be proactive in talking to either your current listings that are on the market, where you're looking at those days on market, it may come time to the dreaded conversation of possibly reducing price, because again, you're studying the market and it shows that either that's called for, or partner with your lender. And you could do a presentation with them, whether you send that, you could record it via Zoom, like we're doing right now, and then upload it to YouTube. And you could send that unlisted link to your client where it's very personalized, but you're leveraging the loan officer to show the difference of what a price drop versus a interest rate drop, and how that can be a win-win for different buyers who are out there on the market, because it's essentially the seller buying down the interest rate for the buyer. And then you could use that same link and go one to many, where all those pre-approved clients that either one of you were working with, say at the start of the year, who may have had their search feature at like 800,000 or 500,000, whatever it is, because rates were lower. And so most people think that because of the debt to income ratio, we're going to have to lower our pre-approved amount because interest rates are higher. So that monthly payment has increased. Well, this is also a way that you could create a how to re-enter the market campaign, showing a similar strategy of getting a seller to buy down the interest rate for the buyer, which you show the cost savings over time, which is huge. Every buyer is going to love that lower interest rate and smaller payment. And it's a way to be strategic of going out there in the market where you can easily do a search of who's had recent price reductions or who has days on market that's a little bit longer. And so it just shows as a team how you guys think differently, but also hitting something that's very relevant, especially if you are in Utah, Florida, Austin, Arizona. I mean, you guys know there's certain markets where the price reductions are even heavier than other areas. So that's a strategy that y'all could do together. You could do a TCA a day or CMA a day challenge, combining, this strategy and hit it hard for the next 30 days where you're proactively looking for price reductions, or again, those clients who were pre-approved in January who just never found anything that they loved or couldn't win in an offer back then.
I love that. And so one of the things that I have to compliment you on is the fact that you're always studying, right? Old school teacher, you're still going out there and you're actually always learning. And so, that's that Altos research piece that you're doing. Like, that's why you're such a gift to the community, because you're going out there and doing the hard work for everyone else and then sharing with us all the knowledge that you learn. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm addicted to learning. If there was one thing I'm addicted to, it is that, but that's so we can show up on these calls and you always have something new and relevant to share that's also backed, by research, because I never want to give just another fake headline news. And I've been really impressed with Altos. This is not a plug for them, but I like that they give weekly webinars that is it's great content instead of just the monthly numbers that's more national. You can subscribe and have very hyper local data that helps, especially if you're a real estate agent and you're sitting with a client and you're trying to educate them on, okay, we may put that for sale sign in the yard, and you know what, you may not have 50 offers in the first 30 seconds. That's a very real thing right now. And sometimes having that data behind it proves your words to be true and not just feeling as if it's your safety net of why you can't get a home to sell. So I love to learn and I love to share what I learned.
Well, and so again, Liz is like, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, like the second answers is arm yourself with data, right? Be an expert of your market. So when you're calling and doing what Deb just suggested, I think it's a great idea to call those folks with listings, that type of thing, is know the data for your market so that you can educate them. And then, as she said, you've also got buyers out there, and it's just a great opportunity to help them, understand, what the opportunity is in this market. I mean, I really feel like, my gut tells me that, yeah, it's going to be ugly for a bit. By ugly, I just mean slower for a bit. But, people are going to look back at this time and say, gosh, that was a great time to buy, right? People who bought now, took advantage of the inventory on the market and then turn around and refinance down the road when rates get lower are going to be like, yes, I did it. Yeah. And so I don't think again, you don't want that. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that boat.
Well, and that's what I love about HomeBot. I mean, when I first read this 3 ways to create client engagement, HomeBot is one of those automated features that you can have in your business where I think no matter if it's a client that you helped a couple years ago or one that you even helped last month, I think everyone always wants to know where their home value sits. And I've even heard of agents who will continue to put their clients that they even just helped close, like we could say last week, where they keep the listing updates going, but it's just focused on their neighborhood, because curiosity of anytime there's a new home that's being listed in the neighborhood, sometimes it's nice just to be in the know, and you never know that one update or one automated email could create a conversation or engagement of just, hey, I saw this property was just listed. It's very similar to ours. I'm curious, and they may ask for more information. So don't forget to also engage with some of those automated marketing pieces or tools that you may have, such as HomeBot.
Well, and I think that's perfect. So that's it kind of leads right into my idea, for idea number 3. And, again, I'm a broken record about doing CMAs, right? Comparative market analysis for your client. I'm a broken record about doing annual mortgage reviews, but it's just a great opportunity to pick up the phone if you're using a tool like HomeBot or whatever tool you're using. You don't have to have a tool, just to come up, see how you're doing. If you're using HomeBot, yeah, then you're going to ask them, oh my gosh, hey, it looks like your house is still holding steady at $505,000. What do you think? Right. And so as a loan officer, you can be doing that. As a real estate agent, you should be doing a real CMA. Hey, real quick, I know a lot of clients are worried with all the inventory in the market, how their house is holding up. You know what? Looks like, your house probably would have topped out about 510. It's only at 505 right now, but gosh, look at that. You've made $150,000 in equity since you bought it. How do you feel? right? And then shut up and let them answer the question. Because ultimately in the end, I think that that's where, you've got this disparity in the marketplace where a lot of people are kind of celebrating the amount of equity that they have. And they're like, well, gosh, if I lose 10 or 20 grand, it's not a big deal because I've gained 100 or 200 or $500,000 or whatever they've gained. And then you've got the other people are like, well, I've gained 40,000, but now it's only, down from 45,000. And they're a little bit more negative, right? Glass half full versus glass half empty versus glass half full. And so just the best way that you can get yourself out there and keep in touch. And so a lot of you have been knowing it. I mean, I've been really focused on, hey, 100 quality conversations is a week. So what people should be trying to have right now is a minimum, right? And so I say kind of connection. So it could be you talk with 80 people and you meet with 20 people face to face, but whatever that combination is, but 100 is a pretty good magic number right now to keep your business going. And I know there's people who are doing more. I talked to a real estate agent last week who's really, really committed to his 3 hours a day of calling. And he's, frustrated he doesn't have more business, but, he's still keeping that piece going. He could say, well, I'm not just getting a bunch of business from doing it right now. I'm just going to scrap that calling and I'm not going to do it. But that's his habit that he's built for himself. So he's super consistent with it. And those are the kinds of people that I think are going to win in the long haul.
Well, it's, I can't remember what the stat is exactly. I think I listed it on our video Friday for the Modern Mortgage Summit page. I want to say it was 68% of sellers are repeat clients or referrals from clients for real estate agents on the sell side, and it's like 62% on the buy side. So it just goes to show you that people may be a little hesitant right now because of economic news or housing market news, but the relationship card in the end is the ultimate trump card, and you don't know what's going on in your client's life unless you ask them. And so I still believe in, and I think we shared this on a couple webinars ago that, once the baby boomers start dying off, as bad as that sounds, and they are thinking, 2030-ish, you're going to start to see some of those baby boomers who have homes that either they leave it to their children, and what are their children going to do? Are they going to list it, or are they going to sell it, or are they going to rent it out? And are you staying in touch with your database enough to have the relationship of knowing a little bit about their family dynamics? And maybe they do have, parents that are a little bit older that could be in Florida, that they may live in Arizona, but if they're in Florida, then maybe that could be a referral that you send over, because you're just staying that connected and you're keeping the notes in your CRM or however you keep notes and keep track of that. So you know where to maximize opportunities simply because you actually know your clients that well, and vice versa. They may have kids that could be graduating soon and they're looking at getting their first home, or maybe they just got married or they're expecting their first child. These goes back to those life events that could stem from that one client that you helped. And it may not be them, but it could be somebody they know. And if you're not staying in touch with them and aren't aware of, their kids or their parents, then how will you even know how to maximize that opportunity beyond just that one lead that you had?
I love it. All right. So I got one quick side tangent when you said, people passing away. It's I saw a study years ago that said 99% of parents want their kids to move into their house when they pass away, like leave it on for legacies, but only less than 1% actually do. It was like a reverse mortgage
Wow.
scene where they were talking about that. So I don't know how legit it was, but just think about that. It's probably true, right? My parents have a great house. Ironically, it was my grandma's house that they did buy and move into, but they bought it when she was still alive. She moved into a home where she felt it was a good idea to do so, when she was still with it and doing all that stuff. But that's just kind of interesting, a side point, but really just kind of proving my point of doing reviews, right? Doing CMAs and doing annual mortgage reviews, regardless of which, seat you sit in. It's just that connection with your clients. And it's interesting. I talked to a real estate buddy of mine last week, and I literally had me, I'm so bad at Facebook. The 3 seconds I was on for Facebook that day, I saw a video of him welcoming a new agent to his team. And and he's a guy, they don't do business with my team. His guy who leads his team is best friends with someone who leads really a huge team here in the country. And so I just called him because he's a friend. I was checking in on him, and he's like, oh, Todd, everything is so good. And like, the guy is just super positive. And he's like, oh, I was doing what you're doing. He just assumed I was calling him to check in, like on some kind of schedule. I was like, I was doing what you're doing, Todd. I was doing my regular quarterly calls to my clients. And I mean, again, he's got a system and he's disciplined around it. And then of course I liked it because he said they've got 18 agents on his team and they've got I think 16 of them use Win by Noon. I'm like, yes. But he runs the sales side of it, and that's they all start off and they all use Win by Noon. So that was exciting.
Well, and just how you started with agents could need a bear hug, right? It's nice when if you're doing the CMA Day challenge or even the planner challenge where you guys all come together and there's something in common with all of you, no matter if you're the team lead or not. But maybe you're running a competition and it's whoever can plan out, like, let's take baby steps. Maybe let's plan out this week and actually have our time blocks built into the calendar. And let's just see how close, like who got 80% of what we committed to what actually got done. And maybe you just start small and you start racking up those small wins, because as small as they may be, sometimes that's the very momentum needed, that if you focused on that, it helps with that possible negativity or just down in the dumps of people who are used to making just 100 calls and they may get a couple leads just off those 100 calls. Well, now it's taking 200 calls to get the same amount just simply because of the times that we're in. So what activities could you focus on where you make it a small win and kind of a competition where there's a big prize at the end, or maybe it's to avoid a pain, like whoever doesn't do it has to have a pie in the face or whatever it may be, but something that just creates a little bit of fun and spark, because we are seeing the seasonal shift that's going to be coming, just fall next month. And how are you going into the fall with momentum? So I think the very things you do right now leading up to next month is going to create either positive momentum and energy of excitement and spark, because again, you're focused on activities that you can control regardless of results. Or you have people that are just so doom and gloom because they're focused on results and it may not be exactly where they want it to be based off the outcome and efforts that they're used to doing. So I think it's a great opportunity to get some excitement going again and wrap your arms around teams and give them that big squeeze that they may need, but in a fun, competitive way.
I like it. I like the pie in the face idea, unless it's coming in my face. I'm not really into that, but I think you're so right. I mean, again, the bottom line is that, kind of, you've got a couple of ideas. You probably have your own other ideas in addition to what Deborah and I've spent the last 30 minutes talking about, but you've got to actually start scheduling it into your calendar to get stuff done. And really, what's that commitment look like, right? So, for me, if I'm going to make, I'm about 1-to-1, typically 1 call to 1 quality conversation. Sometimes it's like 20 calls to 19 conversations. So it's not always 1-to-1, but it's pretty darn close. And so obviously if I'm going to do work 5 days, my goal's 20, that means I got to do 20 a day. And so, sure enough, I look at it, and before I hit noon today, I had 20 outbound calls and I had 17 quality conversations. And what that just tells me is that I probably will have 20. Everything else I've got now is scheduled. I've got blocks of time to do other recordings and meetings. So I'm not going to be doing anything else proactive to try to add to that. But I'm sure that some more of those people will call me back and I'll fill out my 24, for the day. And so kind of as Deborah said, I mean, you're going to have to know what your number is. And unfortunately, the reason I find that most people don't want to take the time to do it is because they're scared. Right? They're scared that, just what Deborah said, what took you 100 calls before in conversations may take you 200 now, because nobody wants to know they have to do more. But in the end, that's really what it boils down to. And so, kind of as we kind of wrap up our 30 minutes together, I think that last bit of advice that Deborah gave is kind of the advice that I'm going to push you all on is, number one is commit, right? You make a commitment, put it in your calendar. And push through it, right? I mean, she said 80%, what I'm saying, go hit it, like, pick 3 things that you're committing to and hit all 3 of those. And then leave some white space. I mean, I've got white space in the afternoon here. And guess what? When my wife calls and says, hey, can you drop that thing off of our daughters at this place? I'm like, absolutely, I'll do that. Cause I'll just do that and I'll make some calls or listen to a podcast from the car while I'm doing it. Right. And so you've got this opportunity to be the best you. You got this opportunity to reach out to the people that we've talked about reaching out to over the last few minutes. And I know you've got it in you. I know you want to do it. And then I know there's going to be more things I'm going to read in this book that I'm going to be bringing back to all of you. So that's my bow on it. Why don't you just wrap it up for us, Deborah?
Yeah, I would just encourage anyone who's listening to this, whether that's, in the Facebook group or YouTube, one, don't forget to hit the subscribe notification. So the little bell, But if you run into some roadblocks, like you're out there in the trenches and you're like, I'm listening to these, I'm making the calls, whatever those obstacles are, go ahead and leave a comment, or you can message us where we can talk about that on future webinars. Because, we do have the opportunity to speak to lots of different agents or loan officers across the country. And so we're hearing some of the behind the scenes stuff that's either working or not working. And, if you don't ask, then you don't know. And so I would encourage you all to, once you've invested the time and you're listening or watching this, ask your questions and we will address them and help you, because that's why we do this every week, is to help you grow and, bust through those obstacles. And sometimes the obstacle is the way, and we'll help. You just got to ask.
Quote Mr. Ryan Holiday. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for watching this. As Deborah said, if you enjoyed it, give us a like. If you have a question, put it there. We would love to answer it. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Deborah. And we will see you all next Monday. Have a good one.
Bye.